Today we're starting with Psalms 88. O Lord God of my salvation, I have cried night and day before thee. Again, this is a call from a man to God. And let my prayer come before thee. Incline thy ear unto my cry. My soul is full of troubles, and my life draws nigh into the grave. He's using maybe some hyperbole, or maybe he is close to the grave. But this is someone who's feeling attacked, and where are they going? Are they going to their flesh? Are they going to their friends? But he's going to his God. So this one is about, thou hast laid me in the lowest pit, in the darkness and the deeps. Thy wrath lieth hard upon me. The idea that he is seeing that what is happening, not everything that bad happens to us happens because of God. But there are specifics here, especially in the Old Testament, where we see that they can draw a correlation. I mean, if I find myself doing something and then an effect happens, that cause and effect could be a cause and effect. But is it sometimes God getting my attention because of something that I'm not seeing? Again, we have to put salvation a little to the side here and say this is more of a sanctification motif to call us out. Now, they had sanctification and salvation tied together through obedience. Fortunately, our salvation and righteousness is tied upon his work for salvation. So all that's left is for us to work with sanctification, consecration. But he goes on, thou hast put away mine acquaintances far from me. Thou hast made me an abomination unto them. I am shut up and I can't go forward. He's feeling hemmed in. He's feeling alone. And he's kind of depressed. And here we are, but where is he going with this? Into a bottle, or into hypersexuality, or into violence, or into blaming or shaming others? Or is he turning to God? He goes, I have stretched out my hands unto thee. Wilt thou show wonders to the dead? Shall the dead arise and praise thee? Shall thy loving kindness be declared in the grave? This is used erroneously by the Jehovah's Witnesses to say there is no hell, because they're saying that no one can praise God in heaven or hell because there's nothing in the grave. And yet, he's not saying that. He's saying, if I die, who's going to praise you? Who's going to praise you here in the land of the living? Who will glorify you in a place where your glorification needs to be seen? Shall thy wonders be known in the dark, and thy righteousness in the land of forgetfulness? Again, they didn't have the strength, they didn't have the information about heaven and hell as distinctly as we do through the teachings of Christ. There was a point of Sheol, a point of placement of the dead, both good and bad. But when you were separated from this world into Sheol, you couldn't minister here. So this is what this is really saying. It's not saying there's no hell. It's saying that he's making a point, and he's actually being very legal in a courtroom setting about here's a reason why to leave me alive when I'm so close to death. But unto thee I cried, O Lord. And again, it's Yahweh, not Adonai. Again, the corporate understanding. And in the morning my prayers prevent thee. That Lord, why castest thou off my soul? Why hidest thou thy faith from me? I am afflicted and ready to die. This one does not end in an upbeat. It's one of the rare ones that doesn't have God coming to the rescue. And it's actually kind of beautiful in the sense that it has this kind of dark motif to it. It ends with, lover and friend hast thou put far from me, and my acquaintances into darkness. There's no but you, or but this, or but that. There's no upbeat to this one. The vast majority of the Psalms will either up and stay up, or they're down and they'll go up. This is one of the rare ones that stays down and just goes down. It leaves you in the darkness waiting for God to move. And it's actually, again, if you look at it corner to corner, it's a very beautiful psalm in the sense that it has this kind of darkness to it, this somberness. It's almost like listening to a very somber piece of romantic music that just kind of moves along and moves slowly through the winds, and then slowly through the cellos, then the violins and violas and all of this that create this mournfulness. This is what this one is. So it stays down and it's dark, but it's beautiful in its darkness. Today, we start a new book. We're starting with Joshua. And with the narrative, which we've gone slowly through the Torah, and it was two chapters at a time through Genesis and Exodus. Wound up doing 3 or 4 as we were going through here and there. Sometimes we did 1. Narratives are different. Narratives are more of a story. We really won't have to stop too much. And I don't want to do all the work for you. Once again, that's the struggle here, is that this isn't made to do the work for you. It's kind of give you a gleaned overview. We still have our grid set up for the book of Joshua. We're going to go across and see what it says and how that fits with what we've seen from Genesis through Deuteronomy. And it's going to see this now lived out. So it's all connected together. It's all one gigantic grid. There isn't any differences, and we guide things here by what we've already seen, not what we think we will see, or not by any conclusions that are coming down the road, not presumptions. In fact, we know that God does not like presumptuousness. What's on the grid is what you'll look at, and you gauge it by what you just seen. It's the idea of building a brick wall. You start building a foundation, you set a careful plumb, and then you move slowly up with the bricks. And if you want the wall to be steady, if it's something you can count on, you have to make sure that each brick is set by the previous bricks, not by bricks that aren't even here yet. So it's very important when we go into Joshua that I might do, depends on how the story goes, I might do 2 or 3 or 4 at one time, but please read 2 a day. Read 2 a day plus a psalm. Read it slowly, understand, digest. And I wanted to make these videos anywhere between 15 and 20 minutes long, give or take. But I want you to get from it. So if I do 4, please spend 2 days going through those chapters. So we pick up in Joshua, right after we left off with Deuteronomy. And after the death of Moses, the Lord came to Joshua. Now, the difference with coming with Joshua is that there's no more telling of the law. There's no more regurgitation through Joshua specifically. Joshua is now the warrior. And this is very good for what we see in Moses. Excuse me. Something got in there. But when Moses was the lawgiver, now Joshua is the warrior. And when Jesus came, he sets up his laws, the commandments. These are my commandments. When he comes back a second time, he's going to be Joshua. He's going to be laying down the law. First time he gave you the law, the second time he's laying down the law. So he goes in, and God tells him that Moses is dead. Arise and go over to the Jordan. And so every place that the sole of your foot tread upon, I have given to you, as I've said to Moses, from the wilderness of Lebanon. And he goes from the south to the north, from the west to the east. He tells them what they can have. And so you're going to drive out all these people. If they don't want to go, you have to wipe them out like a plate, every single one. And so he's going to do this. There won't be a man able to stand before you all the days of your life. So we're going to see, as he gets into this, he's going to send in 2 spies and see that these giants are already afraid of him. These giants are already afraid of Israel. These giants are already scared of this God. We'll find out from Rahab, and I'm giving a little bit of spoilers, that there's already gigantic fear. It's ironic that they looked at the size of the giants, and the giants looked at the size of their God. So we need to stop looking at the size of the giants and look at the size of the God. And so be strong and of good courage. For this people thou shalt divide an inheritance of land. Only be strong and of good courage. Again, be strong of good courage. It's strength, then courage. You're strong. Now be courageous with that strength. It's not just courageous. We have to be strong and courageous. The books of the law shall not depart out of your mouth, but you'll meditate on it day and night. You don't just do a Bible study or a devotional and then go off your merry way. This is something that you ponder, that you think about, that you make a part of your life. And again, I have commanded you to be strong and courageous. Being strong and courageous is not it's not a suggestion, or if you want to. You're going to need this. This is your number 1 go-to, is strength and courage. So Joshua called the officials of the people, and he tells them in 3 days, you're going to go over. And the Reubenites and the Gadites and half of Manasseh will go on. And he reminded them, you said you would go. You're going to leave your little ones and your older people and your stuff here on this side, on the east side of Jordan. But you're going to go with us. No one ever asked how we're going to get across. I think they had an inkling that maybe it'd be the same way they got there. So he tells them that. And when you give your brethren rest in their land and have taken all of that land, then you can go back and enjoy your inheritance. So many times we in Christ, we want to enjoy our inheritance now. But we are to enjoy our inheritance after everything's been claimed for Messiah. So again, we're going to do all that Moses has said, only be strong and of good courage. He says that again. He sends the 2 spies in. He's pretty smart. He wants to go see what's going on, kind of check out the land. So he sends them in, and they stay with a harlot. And this is a harlot. Many times, some of the innkeepers also, that was houses of prostitution. That's how they made their money on the side. If you know anything about the Wild Wild West with saloons, they had the girls upstairs. And sometimes the hotel next door was tied to the saloon for convenience sake. So you always had this. And these men came in, and the men of Jericho found out that these men came in. Maybe they were asking questions. Maybe they looked different. Maybe they spoke differently. So these people in Jericho would have had 38 years to get to know what these people look like. And maybe they sent spies out. So they took them, and this woman took them in and hid them because the men of Jericho came. And she said that these men came, but then they left. They left right after they shut the gates. If you hurry, you can catch them. So he hid them. And she tells them that this terror of you has fallen upon us, that we are afraid of you because of your God. This must have been encouraging on their ears. We've got these giants, these strong, these beefy, these giants here, and yet they're afraid of us. We see this also with Gideon. We see this in other places. If they'd have trusted the strength of their God, they wouldn't have had to make some of the decisions that they made. So it says that we heard and our hearts did melt, and we had no more courage. This is how these giants became so afraid their hearts melted. But she wants to save her family, and she says, swear to me that when you come, not if you come, when you come, that you will spare me and my family. So they make a deal, and they say that if you'll get your family in here, everybody into your house, then we will spare whoever's in the house. But if they're in the streets and they're not, then they're on their own. And remember, the way Jericho will plan out, they will have 7 days to get ready because they're going to go around. So I'm sure every time the Israelites came and marched around Jericho, she had all of her family into her house. You know, it's interesting that we see a similarity here with Noah. Noah went into the ark 7 days before the flood. And here Rahab would have brought her people in 7 days before, and they would maybe gone out for supplies, but then they didn't know which day there was going to be an attack. They also said that if you will leave this red cord, we will look for that red cord, and we will not hurt anyone that's in that household. So that's the deal that was made. But if you tell anybody, deal's off. So they had this thing going. They return and tell Joshua. Joshua says, surely the Lord has delivered this into our hands. Even the inhabitants thereof faint because of us. So Joshua gets up early, and he gets everybody ready to go. And they wait 3 days, and they come up and they take the Ark of the Covenant first, and it leads out. And the people go on behind it. They're 2,000 cubits, which is 1.5 miles, 2 miles behind the Ark of the Covenant. Now these priests could have been easily picked off if this was any other god. This is a faith thing. These priests are out there walking, surrounding this ark, and they're kind of, by themselves. And so they're walking along, the people are behind them, and they go to the Jordan, and they get instructions from God that God is going to split the Jordan. So the priests go first, and as they go, and Jordan is at flood stage, and they go in, and as the priests start going into the water starts receding. The priests stay in the middle, and all the army goes through. All of the people go through, except for the 2.5 tribes that left their stuff, but their warriors go through. And they take some bricks out from the middle of the Jordan to set up on the side, and they're going to do that so that they will have a memorial. But here they are. They pass through, and the feet of the priest that bear the ark dipped into the water, and the water went up, the water receded, and the people started going through. So I'm going to stop right there, because this story, again with a narrative, it doesn't stop. It just keeps moving on. It's like a movie now. And so I don't want to spend too much time, and I want to make sure that I'm covering that ground. But this is chapters 1, 2, and 3, and read them. Just stop and digest them. See the movie in your head. Don't get in a hurry. Why do we gallop to the cross? You know, all the times we're trying to get people saved, getting people saved. But what about just enjoying the journey of what God has prepared to show what He did and how He did it, you know? And so we need to stop and stop and enjoy every step of this journey from here on through the history, from here on through Nehemiah, through all the kings, through all the different things that are going on. Stop and enjoy the journey of what God is doing with His people, showing Himself strong, showing that He is always right, showing that He is always good, and that He is always loving. He is all merciful, but He's also judgmental, and He will drop His wrath. He is all of those things in their entirety. If we don't know how it all works, that doesn't matter. It's still true, even if it doesn't fit in our brains. You need to trust this word, and more importantly, enjoy this word. Thank you.